This is Allastrology. Yes, my name is G. And we're going to walk through 3 main events for your May 2023. And yes, we have an eclipse. Hello. Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3. So let's just start right there. We have an eclipse. Okay, so let me move my seat up a little bit. I feel like I'm a little miniature girl right now. Whatever that means. I just felt really tiny. Like, what's going on anyway? All right, so you guys got me on a good mood, a really good mood, I think. Yeah, I feel like making progress with my mother. We finally got a diagnosis, and hopefully things become a little bit easier for her. Anyhow, let's talk about you, Sag. We're going to be talking about Mars and Pluto, whether you like it or not, because Mars and Pluto rule the first. Well, it's actually the second eclipse, but it's the first event in the month of May, and it's right at the very beginning of the month. It's May 5th. We have an eclipse in Scorpio, so it's ruled by Mars and Pluto. So understanding Mars and Pluto, how they show up in your world, how they look in your life, will really help you to recognize it, but then to even possibly better plan, right? So this eclipse is a lunar eclipse. Let's just start with that piece of it. Okay, so yes, this is number 1, but there's going to be a lot of pieces within number 1. And I'll just talk about it instead of dissecting each piece. I know we got a lot of people learning on the channel, but there's a lot of other videos that I've put out where they can have all those bits of dissection. So this means we're releasing and we're letting go because it's a lunar eclipse, but it's a full moon eclipse. All right, it's a full moon in Scorpio, and Scorpio energy is bonded energy. Bonded, right? And so when it's bonded energy, it's shared emotions, shared values. We've bonded over something in some way. And so you can have emotional bonds, you can have physical bonds. Think about that. You can have bonds that were out of tragedies. You can have bonds that are blood bonds. You can have bonds that are energetically just there and you don't even know what the hell it's from, because Scorpio energy is tragic, right? There's a lot of crap. When I see people's charts and I'm like, whoa, look at all that Scorpio energy. It's usually like, you're like, damn, should I talk about this? Is it okay? It's one of those things. Are they ready to talk about it? Do they want to hear about it? Right? Because it's something that represents a vulnerability. That's how deep that wound was. It went so far back, so deep, that it's created this open wound that they got to hide. Not necessarily like, I got to hide this, but more like, that's my business. That's my business, right? And if I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it. So it can be tricky because sometimes they can feel that the sting, the scorpion sting, right? Sometimes they can feel that, or they can feel that burned, or they can feel somebody walking out and putting salt in their wound and not even know what the hell the wound is exactly, or the source of that wound. It's a mystery sometimes. Yeah, it absolutely is. Because Scorpio energy, remember, it's like stuff that's buried so deep down, Pluto, buried so deep down. It's under the surface. It's under the foundation even. We like to say it's the foundation, but sometimes Pluto, it's below the foundation. It's below the foundation, right? And so it can be really, really tricky. How can you recognize and acknowledge and then like work with something that you can't see? That's like walking through a house. Pretend you're going to go buy a house and you're like, hey, let's check out this house. Great neighborhood. They got a great school system, like blah, blah, blah. They've got all the wonderful things that we're looking for. It checks off all the boxes on the list. And so, you're going through the list and then you're getting into the non-fun spots, right? Because you're like, oh, wow, it's got this and this, and it's got this great patio and this great deck. And so it's like, there's all these points that it's pushing and then that it's ticking off. And you're like, this is so awesome. And then, either the husband or the wife or the partner, they're like, well, let's go turn the water on. Let's go see, like, how does that work exactly in this house, right? And so somebody goes into the bathroom, like at the opposite end of the house, right? They go and they turn the faucet on. And they're like, wow, the water, okay. It's not looking like it looks like it doesn't have a lot of pressure, right? And so then they go and they're like, well, let's check the shower, right? Let's just see how that's doing, because it could just be that little thing on the faucet, right? So you go to check the shower and you're like, okay, the water pressure's really low. And so right then and there, it's like red flag. But they had to do some investigating. They had to really think. They had to get beyond the surface attractions, Mars. They had to get beyond the impulsivity, Mars. They had to get beyond the, ooh, shiny, let's just act on it and buy it, Mars. And they had to dig deep, Pluto. They had to investigate. They had to go deeper. They had to walk around the house. They had to is there, is there, what's that thing for the plumbing? We have one in this house. It's like I don't know if they call it a plumber's closet, right? Because there's not like a basement, but there's like an access, a plumber's access thing. Like, can we see that so that like if we're considering buying, we would like know how to navigate that and like whether that's doable for us. And then by going there, they could see, okay, has any work been recently done or whatnot, or how long does it look like something's been done, right? Without climbing down into that hole, that crevice. And so you kind of are just digging, right? Because it's Pluto energy and it's digging, but it's a mystery until you do the digging. And even then, because think about this now, this is all Pluto energy when I talk about plumbing and homes, right? Because it's below. Think about how you're like, oh, well, everything seems good. And then let's just pretend you made the purchase and you're in the home. And let's say 6 months go by. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, this isn't working. This isn't working. And then you feel like you've got this issue going on. And you're like, okay, we don't know what the problem really is. We had a plumber in, he did this, he did that. And then someone suggests one of those scopes. You go in with a little plumber's camera, investigating. You're doing like a deep dive, investigating Pluto. This is all part of that Scorpio energy. And so it's once they do that super deep dive with the microscope or the camera, whatever they call those things, plumber's camera, they do that deep dive into the piping that's below the surface. So like have you ever been present when they do that? It's really fascinating because you're sitting there looking at the monitor and you're like seeing into the pipe. And it's freaky as hell because you're just like, ooh, we're seeing things that like eyes have never seen before. Like you're in the pipe, like who is in the, like, right? Plumbers are like, ooh, whoop-de-doo, right? But for the people who haven't done that, it's like, wow, it's just like you're in Hades realm and you're like the fly on the wall or something, and it's like, holy crap. So these wounds can be hidden unless there's some deep dive. And for some folks, they literally have to get professional help. Yeah, they literally have to ask and get someone and hire somebody, and whether it's a psychologist, psychiatry, all of that realm with the subconscious realm, something that's not on the surface, it's kind of hidden, and needing help sorting through those things. Okay, and that's why, right? And so for Sagittarius, this release, because it's a full moon eclipse, so it's a release, but it can be family, it can be emotions, it can be feeling, there can be prominent feminine energy, but also Mars and Pluto, which is masculine energy, right? So it can be the past, it can be things about childhood, but likely things even before childhood. Wow. What's before childhood? In the womb? It could be even before in the womb. What is that? You tell me in the comments, what exactly is that? I don't know. Some say it's just the soul lives on. And so it's another lifetime. It could even be a parallel lifetime. It could even be, multiple lifetimes before this lifetime, like a previous lifetime. Whatever it is, there's history there because that soul lives on. Right. So this is Pluto energy, big time. Now, when I look you up, Sag, in your chart, lots of information here. This can be complicated as hell. Ain't even gonna lie, because you have your Scorpio energy in your 12th house. 12th house is a bit of a mystery. So we've got Scorpio energy, a bit of a mystery, intense feelings, intense emotions, stuff that's buried deep, Scorpio, in the house of mystery. Right. That's the 12th house, the house of mystery. So this definitely lends to somebody might need some special help. right? And if they don't need special help, if they don't get special help, if they're not like, and this doesn't mean these are people who can't function within society. This is not what this means, right? Because I truly believe that, um, yeah, I think it's good for people to be able to talk about things. So it doesn't necessarily mean, you need medication, although that might benefit some people. For some people, it could be something as simple as, get you some cannabis oil or something, right? Everybody has a different method. And so Sagittarius having Scorpio in the 12th, really deep energy. And now that it's in the 12th, though, it goes way back. Like this is your soul's history without a doubt. This is absolutely a wisdom and a depth to your being that others may look at you and be like, I don't even get that person. Like they're talking about stuff I can't even comment on because there's like that abstract knowledge you have, that abstract wisdom, but it's all understanding the depth and the connectivity that is so hidden that very few people can comprehend it. But you're privy, you know about this. You came in this way. Okay. So this is a release and an ending. All right. And if it's a wound, it can be a bit of a mystery. The degrees are 15 degrees in Scorpio, but we're making sure for this eclipse, May 5th, if I didn't tell you the date, that we're checking 15 degrees in Taurus as well. All right. So if you've got 15 degrees over here in Scorpio, the place of mystery, the place of foreigners, foreign lands, foreign languages, healing institutions, possibly. This is overseas, right? Taking long, long journeys to somewhere else, like the hidden, the mysterious. Remember, I talked about it: dreams, fantasy, fictional, sci-fi, music, movies. This is Scorpio. So possibly liking dark stuff. So if you were to watch a movie, maybe you're into watching things that are deep and dark. You want things that are going to be more about showing you don't want false. You don't want false stuff. Okay. You want to be able to see the hidden, right? Because there's like this undercurrent that you're connected to. Because remember, this 12th house is high levels of sensitivity. So you're highly sensitive, highly intuitive. Scorpio, first of all, is really psychic energy. You're in the house of Neptune, the 12th house. This is high sensitivities. This is the placement of I just know shit. So you've got Scorpio and Pluto and Neptune working together. And for many, in some schools of astrology, the thinking and the thought is that Pluto is divine energy. Well, so is the 12th house. So what this means is your Pluto is unbelievably strong. Your Scorpio is unbelievably strong. It is exalted in this placement. It operates on a really high level. So you're going to understand things. You're going to get things. You're going to have intuitions. You're going to have those knowings. And other people may look at you sometimes like you've got 4 eyeballs or 6 eyeballs or 7 eyeballs and you don't have glasses on. And they just may look at you like a 3-eyed whatever. And you're like, what? What? Because for you, it's like breathing. You just know it. But not everybody's going to know what you know. Okay. And so this wound, this is what this is. I was just trying to describe that placement, but this wound, there's a wound, a hidden wound, something about the past. Okay. And it brings up things that will happen in this lifetime where it will get triggered by people that you meet and experiences that you have. So this would be in those bonded relationships. So these are people you're emotionally bonded to, physically bonded to. So this can be people that you've been intimate with physically. This can be people who are family. These can be people who aren't even family by blood, but you meet them and there's just like that thing. You're like, oh my God, we feel like I've known you all my life, right? We all have had these experiences. This is that. And so these are the people who are going to probably be those triggers. And it doesn't mean they're enemies at all. Doesn't mean that. It just means that there's, you go on and you have relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's literally partnerships, whether it could be somebody you work with. It could be anybody in your world. Okay. But being in the 12th house, right? It's kind of in the distant. It's kind of far away. It's kind of elusive. So maybe you have to travel. Maybe your lover is far away. Maybe you feel like, you're only drawn to foreigners or, people who are somehow seem to be foreign for where they're at in the location. Like they just kind of don't fit in some way. They could even be a musician, Hollywood, someone on the silver screen, right? Fantasy, sci-fi, right? So you might have confusions at times, but your Pluto energy really strong in this placement. Follow your deep intuitions, but don't, just be aware the inclination at times where there could be illusions and delusions, depending upon other things in your chart. Okay. So you're releasing and letting go a wound. And this is a great time for healing. And that's what this eclipse will give us the ability to do, to release and let go. Now, the other side of it is in your sixth house. So this is job. This is daily routines. This is work. This is Taurus energy. Okay. 15 degrees. If you're confused about anything I've said, if I've lost you, which I very well could have, don't feel bad at all. Sometimes my mind, I have a lot of strong Pluto stuff, and it just like keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then I have to literally pull myself back up and say, not everybody wants to hear that, G. So we're doing that right now. We're checking in. Don't be discouraged. Comment to me. Let me know what you need me to do for you. Let me know how I can help you. 15 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio for this eclipse in the beginning of May. Okay. Can be an ending and a closure, but there is a promise of something beginning, because it's our values in Taurus energy. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Moolah. We'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the video. This is possibly this eclipse, this release. Remember, feminine energy, family, possibly culture, ancestry could be a thing here. Okay, for some of you. Now we move on, and then in this month of May, Mercury has been. In April, Mercury began its retrograde, right? So when we get into May, Mercury is about to end its retrograde. Okay, in the middle of the month, it's going to end its retrograde. But the thing about a Mercury retrograde, by the way, I'll link the video below. The thing about a Mercury retrograde is you're paying attention to the degrees of the retrograde, because as long as the planet is still within its zone, meaning where it traveled back and forth in its retrograde, this means things are going to change. Information is going to change. Like if you got some news at the beginning of April, if you got news at the beginning of April, and then like here we are, the beginning of May, and things have changed, they're going to likely change again by the end of May, because Mercury is still traveling and we're not making any major decisions until the end of May. Okay. So just keep that in mind. If you can't hold the decisions off, get help. Get professional help before you sign any documents or contracts. Get another set of eyes, people you trust around you, to talk things through, to work things out, and to help you to figure out, am I missing anything? I'm just double checking. I need, remember, people you trust, of course. Can you look over this? I need help. Okay. That's just being smart because of the Mercury retrograde zones. All right. And this is for everybody. Now we get to the 19th of April. Of May. The 19th of April will be coming up soon. And that's why my brain is stuck there, because we're not even out of April yet. And I'm recording this, right? But the 19th of April and the 19th of May are significant. The 19th of April, we had an eclipse. And it was at the butt end of Aries energy, which means it was like conjunct Taurus energy at 0, at 1, at 2 degrees, even possibly for some of you. Okay. And this is a big deal, because the next new moon, because that was a new moon eclipse, by the way, the next one is on the 19th in May. It's not an eclipse, though. This one's just a new moon. All right. So what that means is it's another new beginning, right? The one in April was a new beginning, and so is the one in May. And this one is in Taurus. So that one in Aries at the butt end, conjunct Taurus energy, for many of you, you were feeling the changes. I know I was, because my Mercury is like at 1 degrees, and I have something at 0 degrees in Taurus, and my sun is at 3 degrees in Taurus. So I felt a lot of things changing and happening in March. I felt a lot of things kicking off, and even before, right? Because eclipse energy, if you've got things that are exact, you'll feel it 6 months in advance, right? So if you haven't seen your video, Sag, for April, you probably should go watch that and see How did this turn out for you? Was it true for you? Did these things happen? Right. But the one in May, also in Taurus energy. And this one is a very mature degree. It's at 28 degrees. So it's money and finances, it's banking, it's your creature comforts, it's the earth, it's my food, creature comforts. I have to turn the sound down. Hold on. Let me check that alert. I didn't know that was on. Think of all Taurus stuff. How I receive. It's Venus energy. How I receive. What's of value in my life? Who is of value? My sense of self-worth. These are all Taurus keywords. Am I worthy? Am I worthy? I just want to help people. I just want to do things. I just want to help people. And then all of a sudden, some of us have issues with saying, well, this is a service I can provide, but, give me whatever you want, because we kind of don't feel that we're worthy. And so we have issues with putting a number of value on our abilities, right? So self-worth, at the end of the day, is what this is about. But it goes even higher. It elevates upwards because it's at 28 degrees in Taurus. 28 degrees, a mature degree. So I think of banking, I think of finances, I think of thinking about material security, long-term financial stability. I think of companies and corporations. Again, I'll say banking again. Can't say that enough. Taurus energy, possibly climate change issues and the earth. Taurus energy in your own life. Taurus on a really high level is going to be a minimalist. It's not going to want to waste. It's not going to want to waste. It's going to want to do things that are healthy for the earth, right? It's going to want quality over quantity, Taurus energy. All right. It likes fine food. It likes beauty. It likes comfort. So think about clothing and material. Beauty. Getting my hair cut, getting a spa day or a nail day or whatever, a pedicure, right? Think about all the five senses. Think about the things that you think of when you hear of desire. What do I desire? Venus rules Taurus. Venus has a sweet tooth. That's a hard thing to deal with when someone has a perfected Venus. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just see pictures of like candies and chocolates all over the damn place. I remember being a kid and going through that. Oh my God. I don't know what age I was when I had a perfected Venus, but there must have been a few other things. I remember being on the school bus and like in my little world, like dreaming I wasn't on the school bus because I couldn't, that was like absolute torture for me. Just being among so many bodies and so close, absolute torture. Yeah, one of 12. Anyway, so I would kind of have to use my ability to escape. And as a little kid, you know how people would say, oh, they were like a kid in a candy store. That was my visual. I was like a little kid and I would just close my eyes and just go there, man. Like, just like that. I would be off that bus and I would be like the kid in the candy store. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I want one of those, like fill in your bag. That was my way of making what I understood as kind of like my own private hell and making it better. So that was to talk about Venus, and so that we understand Venus. Venus is about receiving, right? So it's like, ooh, I want this. I want this. Ooh, I want one of those. Ooh, I'll take 10 of those. Yes, one of each, please. One of each. Like that's Venus in Taurus. It's in your 6th house, right? Right. You've got Taurus there. So this is your daily routines associated with your health, your daily routines at your job, how you have found out it's really important to take care of the health. Very important. Understanding how I think and how I feel is connected to the food. It's connected to the digestion. It's connected to the physical health of the body. And understanding that, the way you're thinking about life in general and the things you do to make yourself feel good, whether it's through escaping using substances, but understanding, because a lot of these substances can be completely legit and legal, and then some of them maybe not, right? But it's really more about understanding how even the legal ones, liquor, wine, whatever your pleasure is, how it makes you feel here. And then what a downer it is, right? And so it's understanding like that whole thing right there makes the job, makes the daily living so much more difficult. And it's like, wow, there's other ways I can go about this to make it just to make my life easier. And so understanding that body mind connectivity and how to do the things that are good for you. And because you have a new moon here, which is really like two new moons back to back, it's an opportunity. An opportunity. So check your chart, see if you have something at 28 degrees in Taurus. So it's like 26, 27, 28, 29, 0 degrees even of the next sign, which would be 0 degrees of Gemini. Right. So it can be a thing about values, and it could be a thing about money. For some of you, could absolutely have to do with an income and a new job possibility. And if it's not a new job, it's possibly a new routine at the job. Now, remember, this is pets too, the sixth house. It is your pets. So something new is coming. It's all about receiving something new, a new routine. Absolutely. Right. A new routine. Matter of fact, I got a communication the other day. A person who I know has this set up with you. Same thing, Sagittarius ascendant. And they got a phone call for a job far away from where they are. They would have to travel for their job, but not too far, but they would have to travel, like move. Travel. They would literally have to move out of state. And yeah, it was pretty fascinating because it's like, woo, this is this Mercury going through Taurus for them. It sure is. And so there might be information, there might be phone calls, there might be communications of opportunities that have to do with your future. Because the North Node, when I talked about the eclipse at the beginning of the month, the North Node, my future, is in Taurus energy. That's why that 15 degrees is a big deal. And the person I was talking about, who has the same setup, this eclipse, the Scorpio, they're moving. That is they're moving because they got their Taurus ascendant. Yeah, they've got some degrees that match on the descendant. So they're absolutely moving. And yeah, it's changing times. But remember, the recommendation, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I told them, get lots of eyes to look at it. Hold off the decision making as long as you can. Like if they tell you there's a deadline and they're going to go to somebody else, then just have other people look at the options and before you make a decision. So this is it. There's lots of new coming. It's about values. It's about what you need for your future. Who is going to be a part of your future? Who do you not need going into your future? And that might be, think of all the things that you need to set up your creature comforts. Remember Venus. She likes things to be beautiful. She likes harmony. Venus wants peace. Venus wants peace. And that's it, Sag. That's it. You got any questions? Comment below. If you don't know and you need to know, comment below. If you don't have your own chart and you don't even know what I'm talking about as far as the degrees, comment below. I will help you out in any way that I can. Bye-bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.